Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
All right.
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg didn't see it coming. Not from Bill Maher, and certainly not from Karoline Leavitt. Everyone expected the usual one-sided talk, but suddenly, the studio turned into a verbal battleground. Maher and Leavitt came loaded with truth, and Whoopi, she wasn't ready for the storm. Karoline didn't hold back for a second. With a fiery calmness, she leaned forward and exposed the double standards that Whoopi has been dancing around for years. Then, Bill Maher jumped in with his signature sarcasm, sharp, quick, and unrelenting. Whoopi's face dropped as the laughter in the room shifted from friendly chuckles to pointed daggers. Maher didn't just roast Whoopi, he sliced through her arguments like a knife through soft butter. Every jab landed, and the audience could feel the tension tightening with every word. Whoopi tried to interrupt, but Karoline cut her off without even raising her voice. With all due respect, you don't get to decide who gets a seat at the table, she snapped, and the crowd gasped.
To get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
The panel scrambled, trying to steer the conversation back to safer ground, but it was too late. The floodgates had opened, and Maher wasn't done yet. He called out the hypocrisy of preaching unity while silencing anyone who disagrees. You say you're inclusive, but only if people agree with you. Maher thundered. Whoopi's defense? Weak at best. She stuttered through her reply, her hands waving in frustration. But Maher and Leavitt stayed composed, refusing to be baited. Karoline leveled the entire conversation when she said, "You're offended by a dinner with Trump, but not offended by your own panel's insults every week." Boom. The silence was deafening. The audience roared, some in laughter, others in pure shock. This wasn't just TV, it was a live unraveling of a narrative that had gone unchecked for too long. As Whoopi attempted to pivot the topic, Bill Maher smirked. "What's wrong, Whoopi?" Not used to someone actually answering back, he asked, leaning back casually. Suddenly, the energy in the room shifted again. Whoopi was visibly shaken, her usual dominance on the panel fading in real time. Karoline then calmly listed every time The View misrepresented facts to push a political agenda. She had dates, she had quotes, and she had the receipts. "People aren't stupid," Leavitt said plainly. "They know when they're being manipulated, and they're done with it." The camera zoomed in as Whoopi's jaw clenched. Joy Behar jumped in, trying to rescue the moment with a joke. But it fell flat. The tension was too real, and the truth had already pierced the bubble.
Listen, take him seriously and take him literally.
I don't think that we have to. I think it would be remiss of us to not say Joe Biden knows how to do this. Yes, he knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean
he rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just.
But can I mention one thing?
What made this takedown so brutal wasn't just what Maher and Leavitt said, it was how they said it. Calm, cool, and unbothered by the chaos around them. As Karoline leaned back in her seat, she delivered one last blow in this round. "You call it progress, we call it propaganda." And with that, The crowd erupted again. Whoopi tried to recover her ground, throwing out an emotional plea about protecting democracy, but Bill Maher wasn't having it. He raised an eyebrow and calmly asked, "Since when did democracy mean silencing people you don't like?" The crowd stirred as the message hit hard. Sunny Hostin leaned in to throw her weight into the debate, backing up Whoopi with a dramatic, "It's about protecting marginalized voices." But Karoline Leavitt's response cut like a blade. "Isn't it strange how the only voices you protect are the ones that echo your views?" She shot back. The studio audience was stunned. You could hear a pin drop. Even the production crew looked nervous. This wasn't going according to script, and that's exactly why it was so powerful. Whoopi, visibly frustrated now, tried to shift blame onto Maher for normalizing dangerous people. But Bill leaned forward with that trademark smirk and said, "You mean like sitting presidents? The ones you used to praise before they switched sides?" It was another direct hit, and then it got personal. Whoopi accused Maher of abandoning progressivism for applause. He didn't flinch. "I didn't abandon progress," he replied. "I abandoned hypocrisy disguised as progress." The co-hosts looked rattled. Karoline seized the moment. "It's not progress to mock people's faith, shame parents, and label everyone who disagrees with you a threat." Her voice was steady, her conviction louder than any insult. The View's table, once a fortress of groupthink, was falling apart under the weight of accountability.
Listen, nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, fully gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody.
No amount of scripted laughter could fix the mess unraveling in front of millions of viewers. Bill Maher wasn't done yet. He turned to the camera and said plainly, "We used to be able to laugh together, even if we disagreed. Now these folks act like jokes are crimes." The irony stung, and Whoopi knew it. Karoline then delivered a speech that would go viral within hours. "We've lost the ability to hear each other because shows like this turn debate into theater, and you don't get to control the script anymore." Whoopi fired back, accusing Maher and Leavitt of fueling division. But Maher held firm. "You're confusing disagreement with danger, and that's dangerous all by itself." As the segment reached its breaking point, the producers looked panicked. They weren't expecting a total meltdown, but they got one, and it was all live. Karoline then added, "People are waking up. They're tired of being told what they're allowed to laugh at, think about, or say." Her voice shook with passion, but never wavered in purpose. Whoopi resorted to eye rolls and dismissive sighs, but it was clear the damage was done. The audience wasn't nodding along like usual. They were thinking, and that was the real threat. Bill Maher dropped one last jab before the commercial break. "You don't need to cancel someone just because they had dinner with someone you hate. That's called adulthood." The camera cut to Whoopi's frozen stare, and it said everything. Back from break, the mood was tense. The producers tried to lighten it with fluff questions and celebrity gossip, but the firestorm was still smoldering, and Karoline was far from finished. She calmly addressed the idea of unity. Unity doesn't mean pretending to agree. It means respecting differences without trying to destroy someone over them.
As you know, 12 days ago, I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute.
The audience clapped, slowly at first, but then it grew. Whoopi tried to steer things back, reaching for sympathy. But Karoline had stripped away the illusion. "You want respect," she said. "Then stop treating anyone who challenges you like an enemy." Maher nodded. "Exactly. You can't claim moral high ground if your only weapon is shame." His voice was low, serious, and full of truth. What happened next wasn't just a talk show moment, it was a turning point. People online exploded with support. Clips went viral within minutes, and hashtags trended worldwide. The View's hosts looked stunned during the closing remarks. For once, they weren't laughing. They weren't leading the conversation. They were watching it pass them by. Karoline ended the show with a line that stopped everyone cold. "This country needs real dialogue, not daytime drama pretending to be news. We're done being quiet." Mic drop, and as the credits rolled, Whoopi didn't say a word. Her silence said more than any argument she'd tried to make that day. Maher and Leavitt had done something extraordinary. They stood their ground in a place designed to crush dissent, and they did it with grace, wit, and unapologetic truth. It wasn't just Whoopi who walked away exposed, it was the entire facade of The View as a platform for real conversation. That illusion shattered. The View had taken a hit it couldn't laugh off. The clips of Whoopi being dismantled by facts were already flooding social media, with millions sharing, commenting, and celebrating the takedown. News outlets tried to spin the event, calling it spirited debate or heated exchange, but the public knew better. What they saw was Whoopi Goldberg exposed, stripped of her usual smug control, and replaced by a host who had no answers. Karoline Leavitt walked off that set with her head held high and a digital army behind her. She didn't just go on that show. She conquered it, and the message she left behind, loud and crystal clear. The age of untouchable media elites is over.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex, and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
Meanwhile, Bill Maher returned to real time with a glint in his eye. "Well," he said, "that was fun." And the audience roared because they knew. They'd witnessed something rare, a moment where truth cut through the noise. And that's when it happened. ABC execs held a closed-door meeting that very evening. Sources say the View team was ordered to tone it down and avoid direct political fights that could backfire. Translation: they were scared. The fallout was massive. Viewership dipped, critics started asking hard questions, and longtime fans of the show admitted it wasn't what it used to be. Karoline and Maher had shaken the foundation, and it was starting to crumble. The most ironic part? It was Whoopi who once said that truth matters more than feelings. But the moment truth walked into her studio, she panicked and ran from it like it was a fireball. Karoline Leavitt didn't just bring truth, she brought courage. She showed the country that you don't need to scream or curse to stand firm. You just need conviction, clarity, and a refusal to bow down to manufactured outrage. Maher's role, equally powerful. He reminded America that real comedy punches up, not down. And he proved that when you strip away the fear, even the loudest voices of censorship can be humbled. And Whoopi She became the symbol of everything wrong with modern discourse. Quick to judge, quicker to silence, and completely unprepared when someone challenges the script. The backlash wasn't just about one episode. It was about years of bullying disguised as banter, arrogance wrapped in applause, and ideology pretending to be compassion. And finally, someone called it out. On their turf, people across the country felt something shift.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid on a regular basis. It just happened to coincide.
The tide of silence, shame, and scripted opinion had met its match. The floodgates were open, and real voices were finally rising. Karoline's closing words in a follow-up interview went viral. They don't get to decide who speaks anymore. That era is done. And just like that, the cultural ground beneath the View began to crack. Online, even former fans of the show admitted it had lost its way. I used to love Whoopi, one viral comment read, but this was pure ego and no truth. Another simply said, Leavitt came with facts. They came with feelings. That contrast echoed everywhere. Across YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, even news pundits couldn't avoid it. Karoline and Maher had become a rare duo in today's divided landscape, one that stood for fearless honesty. And what made it even more powerful, neither of them apologized. They didn't cower, backpedal, or beg for approval. They doubled down. And the crowd loved them for it. Even comedians and talk show hosts began chiming in, saying Maher had done what few dared, go into enemy territory and walk out unscathed. As for Karoline, she earned a new nickname online, the View Slayer. The narrative had flipped. No longer was the View the loudest voice in the room. Now it was the target of questions, criticism, and calls for change. The balance of power in daytime TV had shifted. In the end, Karoline Leavitt and Bill Maher did more than win a debate. They sparked a cultural moment, one that reminded Americans that courage is contagious and truth, when spoken boldly, still matters. And as the credits rolled on another shaken episode of The View, the message was undeniable. The days of unchallenged narratives are over, and the truth is just getting started.